So this is somewhat of a comeback for you in the radio industry. Do you think it's easier now, or was it easier before? Which era do you prefer?
Well, it depends on which angle you're looking at it from. From a technical standpoint, it's easier now because everything is digital. Before, you know, there was a lot more work involved just in terms of running a show. But it's also harder now because, for me at least, the fun was talking to people. You know, yeah, getting on the mic and giving out the info, that's one thing. That's never going to change. But the big thing for me was the phone lines. You know, phone lines aren't ringing right now. Not because people aren't listening, but people don't really participate in the radio like that no more. And that's where the fun was. Like, if you go on YouTube and see some of the clips or listen to some of the clips from older shows I did, you're going to hear a lot of phone calls. And that's where the fun is for me. You don't really get that too much anymore. And that's also where, like, the transfer of energy was. Because it takes a lot of energy to do all this. But the best thing in the world for me was always when I would turn on the mic, start my show off, play my intro, which you don't really get those anymore. Play my intro, come on, give out the phone number, and the phone lines would light up. And I started talking to people, going back and forth. And you know, that energy from the public helped feed into the energy of doing the show. It made it easier to do, and it was more creative. It was more challenging coming up with topics and features for people to get into, but that was part of the job, and that's what it was harder in that sense, but it made it easier because people would be into that kind of stuff and you could vibe off of that. And that exchange of energy was real big between the on-air talent and the public. Like, for me, like, going out, because I was a person who went out, not just stayed in the studio, so like being able to meet people, and especially when I was on every day, because like knowing that people was hearing me and they knew my name in most cases, or if they didn't, they may not have known who I was by seeing me, because, you know, there was a time before the texting pictures and Instagram, Facebook, and all social media. The only way you could know what somebody looked like, you had to meet them in person. So like, if it was a party I was hosting, they might have heard me say I was going to be there, and then, but they may not have known what I looked like. And then when I would go to the party and be hosting it, and then they could see me, be like, okay, yeah, that's MC Marcus Chapman. And then if I met somebody, you know, they would be like, oh, okay, that's who that is. I never was like real forceful with it, but they would find out it was me, and then if we had a good vibe, you know, men and women, you know, get together and do things, you know. So that transfer is, you know, that made it exciting, though. You know, it made hosting the events exciting because, you know, knowing that you go on to an event and it's, you know, beautiful women and it's energetic and it's fun and the dudes are cool and everything, that energy from the parties, or even if it wasn't parties, just meeting people out at, you know, grocery stores or whatever, that energy, I was able to bring that back into the studio. You know, it was like feeding off that energy from the public, being a star and all of that, bringing that back into the studio, and then that helped the shows be more energetic. It made more people call, and it would all be one big cycle. Now you don't really have that as much because, for one, radio isn't as big as it used to be because you got so many other entertainment outlets now, and just sources to get music, period. And these days, there's a lot of, you know, and not just, this didn't just start. I'd say this started maybe around like 06, especially, maybe a little before that. But people, I don't listen to the radio, you know, that kind of thing. You know, so, and matter of fact, even since I've been on national TV, I met so many people who claim they don't watch TV. I don't watch TV. Oh, okay, so you don't listen to radio, you don't watch TV, but you know when I'm on. That's what's funny, you know. But it's not as big of a deal to people, so that takes away from the energy. You know, it's less interaction, and it's not, that makes it a little less fun too. So it makes the work harder because now it's like, instead of me kind of having a balance between giving out info and vibing with the callers, it's more so just giving out info, and it makes it less interesting for me. The fun part, you know, people calling in and interacting. Hey, what you doing out there? I'm out no clip barbecue. Oh yeah, you know, save me some ribs. You know what I'm saying? That's fun. And then piecing everything together, presenting it for being on air. So with less of that, it makes it harder, but technically it's easier. So I was never just a technical person or just a person about just being on the radio or being in the studio. So for me, it's actually harder because I have to generate that in, because you know you get tired doing this, like looking at these computer screens and you know the energy level that you still have to have when you're on air. You got to sound, you got to create the party. You got to make it sound fun. Now, you don't necessarily have to be funny, but you got to create a fun atmosphere so that people can enjoy what they're listening to besides just the music. So without getting that energy back from the audience with the callers and the appearances, I mean, these days, you don't really have a lot of radio people hosting events. You know, nowadays, they'll get, you know, so-and-so from Love and Hip Hop.
Instagram.
You know, yeah, you know, the Instagram models or the chick selling the hookah could be the host, you know, of the party. So I've seen that. So without that part of it, it makes it a lot more difficult. And it's easier to just not be as into it. Because, like, back in the day, we wouldn't even be able to talk right now because I'd be on the phones. Like, you could film me, but I'd be editing calls and, okay, wait, hang on. And you'd be like, man, this dude ain't going to never get a chance to talk. You know, but you don't have that these days. So, for me, that makes it a little bit more difficult.